Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks here, Jared and Bob. And we got some not necessarily breaking news, right? Especially by the time this comes out, but some big news that just came out recently. And it is that Amazon MGM, right? So I guess they're the same thing now. I think Amazon bought MGM Studios. Um, Amazon MGM just acquired the rights to James Bond. So obviously some pretty big news, right? James Bond is an iconic movie character. Maybe arguably the most iconic movie character. I mean, they've been making James Bond movies since what, 1958? When did the first one come out?
Like to say 60. I'd like to say 60.
Yeah.
Definitely not later than 62.
Yeah. So they've been making James Bond movies for the better part of 60 years, right? 60 plus years. I can't think of any other movie franchise off the top of my head, right? That's been doing that. I mean, Star Wars is probably the closest. And that was what, 74 maybe the first one came out. Um, and things sort of change, right? It's a different cast after a little while. Like obviously there was some overlap with the prequel. Episodes one, two, and three. Well, I mean, one through six are the core, what George Lucas wrote anyway. But um, outside of the one through six, shit gets goofy, right? I mean, we've talked about that, right? Rogue One is the only movie worth watching after the sixth movie, after technically episode three, right? But yeah, I mean, you could make the argument Star Wars, right? Other than that,
I mean, nothing's been continuous. Obviously, Batman has appeared in movies since about the same time, but it's been
true.
changing,
That's a good
different.
point. Yeah.
Superman probably since the 70s.
Yeah. I didn't think about Batman. Batman's
But
probably the closest thing.
but those are also probably more iconic because they were comic books
True. True.
first. But then there were film adaptations or TV adaptations.
Yeah.
I don't think James Bond was popular as a book. I think it was popular
Probably
because of the
not.
movie.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be my guess. Obviously, I wasn't alive then.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the other part of that too, James Bond as a figure is kind of up in the air. Daniel Craig did his last movie as James Bond. Obviously, with the way the social climate has been over the last decade at this point, um, makes it a little tougher to do a traditional James Bond style movie. Um, I think they adapted nicely with the ending of the Daniel Craig stuff. Little goofy, right, on his last one. Was it No Time to Die? I think was his last one.
Yep.
Um, Still a good movie, right? But they it was different, right? It wasn't a traditional James Bond, just again because of the way the social climate is today. So there was a lot of rumors, right? Like, what are they going to do? Like, obviously, there were rumors a couple of years ago. Oh, they're going to cast a black woman as James Bond, and it's like, okay, all right, what are we doing? Like, we don't need to do that, right? Like, we don't need that, and I don't know. It's just. I think we got past that. Um, and I don't give a shit about like white or black. Like I don't really care because I think Idris Elba would have been a great James Bond had they cast him, when they said they were originally going to, however many years ago. Um, it's just the woman thing, right? Like James Bond is not, it can't be a woman. Like just don't, it's not James Bond. Don't do that. Um,
That's the other thing is for 007 to be a woman, it's like that's fine, but James Bond is more than just 007.
right, right. So that was the obviously the first big part of it, the second big part of it. The next big part of it is um Amazon Studios themselves, right? Like, what are they going to do here? Because I mean, I talked to Finn briefly about it, but he said that they butchered Lord of the Rings with Rings of Power. Um, so I never watched the series, but Amy watched the first season and she liked it. Um, she has seen most of the Lord of the Ring movie. I think she saw the new trilogy. I don't think she's seen all three of the original trilogy. So that The Hobbit, right, is the second trilogy. Um, she hasn't seen season two of Rings of Power, but again, according to Finn, shout out to Finn, Amazon butchered Lord of the Rings, right, with Rings of Power. Um, Disney is very well known for destroying franchises, right? They ruined Star Wars. They're dragging the shit out of something like a Toy Story, right? Like they just released, they're going to bring out Toy Story 5, I think either this year or next year. Um, Disney has become synonymous with like quite literally just beating the dead horse, right? Like we don't need it. Like no one asked for it. No one asked for all of these Star Wars spin-offs. No one asked for Toy Story 5. No one needs this stuff, right? Um,
Well, and that's their problem is they actually had mild success with the original whatever, Star Wars, Marvel, Toy Story, whatever.
right. Yeah, I mean
Then they
Marvel obviously the big one,
and
right? The
and then
most
they
obvious.
went back to it and actually did some decent stuff. WandaVision was good. The Mandalorian was good. Toy
Right.
Story 3 was good, I think,
Right.
right?
Yeah. They all were. Toy Story 4 was really good.
But then they just keep going. They don't know
Yeah.
when to fucking stop.
Yeah, Loki was good, right? Both seasons of Loki were good, but like they made the Eternals and then didn't do anything with it. And then they have that the animated What If series that is just kind of there, right? And it's like, all right, what are we doing? The Marvels was just bad. Um, so yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of kind of mixed emotions with the whole Amazon buying James Bond. The only hope that I have is Barbara Broccoli and I forget who the other person is. Is it her husband or someone who because I know Alfred Broccoli's daughter, right? I think wrote the original screenplays, right? Or scripts or whatever he did for the original movies. Obviously, Ian Fleming wrote the books, but I know Alfred Broccoli was involved in the movies.
Yeah, I don't know
Uh,
the exact, but producer, maybe.
yeah. Um, So Barbara Broccoli is has creative control still. So Amazon owns it, but I know the Broccolis are still involved. Michael G. Wilson is her half brother. So Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson are staying on to be involved with the franchise. So that is kind of the only saving grace that I have. Um, that I feel like they wouldn't allow it to become bastardized.
Well, as long as they just do movies, should be okay. Now there should be probably some type of rhythm to it, whether it's every 2 years, every 3 years, or we're gonna do
Right.
three every two, and then we'll kind of chill for a minute.
Right.
But if they try to get a James Bond movie out every year, or if they're gonna try to do TV and miniseries, or like
Yeah, what no one wants or asked for is a Money Penny miniseries, right? Like
yeah,
an eight
A Q
episode. Yeah,
miniseries.
no one wants to watch 8 episodes of Q, right? Be like build shit and blow stuff up, right? No one wants to watch Money Penny go around. No one wants to watch, you know, no one wants the backs. Well, it could be interesting if you do it, but like the backstory on M, right? Like becoming M. Um, that one could be interesting if you did it correctly, but still, like, does someone really want that? Like, it might be entertaining, but like, do you want? Does anyone asking for that? Like, I don't want anyone's being like, oh, I would really like to, like a 8 to 10 episode series on how M became M.
I don't know if they would.
Right? It's like, just give me
Imagine,
007, just give me James Bond.
see, there's like potential with some of this stuff, right? Like, think about how good Kingpin was in Daredevil.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can go back to Blofeld already. You might have to go to somebody else.
Oh, you
Um,
mean the stolen Austin Powers plot line about how they're brothers?
yeah, that's not great that they ripped off
Yeah,
a parody of
of
its own
themselves.
series.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe I don't know, maybe you introduce a new villain. I don't know, you do something, but if there was like a mini series about the villain and Bond isn't really like in it,
Yeah.
but it leads to a movie, like there could be some value there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But also it has to be a good villain,
but it's
right?
got to be a good villain with a good story, and it's got to be well done. Like
Right. Right.
I think we're probably in a time where, making sure that there's a non-gendered that person thing in every scene is probably over. And maybe they can just go back to like pure like action. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And with Bond, there's probably more wrong than right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
They should do a fucking 006 series.
Yeah.
That could be well
Right.
done.
Right. I
And if
also,
it would have to lead right into GoldenEye though.
yeah, I heard someone put together, no, this was on Twitter. I saw, I don't think I saved it on Twitter, unfortunately. Um, but someone wrote out their idea for a James Bond, like, in the meantime until they figure out the new James Bond. And it was an old retired Bond who is attempting to be burned by the MI6, right? So they have a picture of Pierce Brosnan today, right? Um, he's all white hair, whatever, grayed out. And they like this person like wrote out their whole thought. And I was like, that could actually be a good movie, right? Like James Bond is retired, right? But because whatever happened in the intelligence world, they're like, oh shit, we have to burn our agents, right? We have to get rid of all the old agents. And they go after James Bond, but this is like almost like a survival retirement story. That could be done correctly, right? I think it has potential. Um,
Or 45-minute episodes, and I'm in.
yeah,
I don't need 8. I don't need 10.
yeah. Let me see if I can find it quickly on Twitter. Um,
Well, I mean, I think people are going to probably look to the Logan thing on that because Logan was a pretty good movie.
yeah,
I don't know if I actually watched it, but I know people like it.
okay. Yeah, so here it is. This is I've already written the plot episode, no, the pilot episode for Old Man Bond. An older but still tough James Bond in retirement being hunted by a younger assassin hired by an unknown villain who placed the bounty on Bond as revenge for his actions against a double O agent. Without the protection of the government that he served, he's left with only his wits and a few friends to help him survive long enough to figure out who placed the bounty on him and eliminate them first.
Like John Wick meets Logan, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of a mix between John Wick and Logan. But then in this, they have the picture of Pierce Brosnan right now with a full head of gray hair and a white beard, which I'd watch that. Again, like you
I mean,
said, 4 to 6 episodes, right? Like I don't need 10 episodes, 10-hour long episodes of that.
yeah, that one you could maybe get away with a touch more.
Yeah.
Maybe six, because what's 440? That's only 3 hours of footage. Maybe you need 4.5 hours. So six 45-minute episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I would watch that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, as long as whatever they do is cohesive and works towards something. So it's like, if you do I don't know, a Bond in Argentina or something, and it's like, he's laying low. There's some shit going down, whether he's got friends or connections or someone gets him personally, and it leads to, and then it's like, okay, so then you have like the series where something happens,
Right.
and there is a like a climax of the season, but it also leads to the next movie,
Right.
which then maybe lead to another movie, which is like, again, as long as it's all working towards the same thing. I
Yeah.
think that's the problem that Disney has had with their shit is
Right.
the the one-offs need to be great.
Yeah.
And if they're not great,
If they're not all Rogue One, then you're wasting your time.
or not even, or believe in, but like season like one of the Mandalorian, season two of the Mandalorian, and it's like
Right.
Boba Fett got a thing. I think that
Yeah.
was okay. But then it's like season three of The Mandalorian was like, now we're too much. That's the problem. Now we're too much and it's not culminating in anything.
Right. Right. I saw someone else on Twitter had an idea of a way to sort of circumnavigate um the questionable waters right around James Bond again, because he is a womanizer and a drunk and all this other stuff, which isn't as cool, right, in 2025. But they said you write it so it takes place in the 70s, right? So it's a little bit more time appropriate, right? So you can get away with a little bit more than you could today, right? Because if there's any social backlash, it's like, well, this was set in the 70s. Like that's how things were in the 70s, right? It's almost kind of like a built-in excuse to like let James Bond be James Bond. And I thought, like,
I actually
yeah,
think
that's not a
they,
bad idea.
they almost should, maybe even just for like a movie or two, they should throw it back to like 60s.
Yeah,
Go back to, and like, I don't know, see if it works. Like, throw it back to the original style.
yeah,
Cold War. Like, why not?
yeah, yeah. You just try it, right? Give it a whirl. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, it's iconic. We're both big James Bond guys. I know you probably more so than I. You got me more into the older Bond movies, right? I was a huge James Bond fan growing up, but I was, basically Pierce Brosnan and that's it, right? And then obviously Daniel Craig afterwards. But I never really got into, the Sean Connery, the Roger Moores, the Lazenbys, the all those old ones. Until, when we lived together in Mansfield. But I enjoy them, right? Like I enjoy them all. So yeah, like I said, it's just one of those like it gives you a little bit of a pause, um, just hoping that they don't fuck it up. But like I said, the fact that that Barbara Broccoli and her brother are both involved. It gives me like a glimmer of hope that it wouldn't be as fucked up as had Amazon just had full creative control.
Yeah, and I think just to put a nod on it too, it's not like the Bond series is in like a really, really good spot either right now. So it's
Right.
like what like right now they can't ruin anything because there is nothing.
Right. There's
So
yeah, there's nothing to ruin.
and it's like I know Skyfall might be the best in the whole series.
Right. They
But
made two after it.
In Casino Royale was good too. Casino
Right.
Royale was good.
Right.
Spectre and then No Time to Die did not quite. I don't know how people feel about No Time to Die. I thought the villain was like act fascinating, and that's probably the best word I have for it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Rami Malek is a fantastic actor.
I just thought too the way it was like that dude just wants destruction, and that's it.
Yeah.
He does not care about
Right.
anything else. He is
Right.
just there to watch the world burn.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the movie itself, I don't know, thought it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, what else we got here? Oh, this is an interesting one. We talked a little bit about this in our Twitter group earlier today. But the in the great state of Massachusetts, thank God for Governor Healy, right, who's stepped in to save people in the state from having to pay too much for gas prices, right? So what Governor Healy did last week was pass some sort of fucking legislation or whatever she does as governor, that removed or capped the amount that the four or five or six, however many there are, major gas companies in the state can charge their customers for the remainder of the winter months, right? It being March and April. So for March and April, they have to drop their charges by a minimum of 5%, right? So everyone is saved, right? Everything is great, right? Everything is awesome. Governor Healy steps in and saves everyone's day and saved everyone 5% off of their gas bill for the next 2 months, right? Oh wait, there's a part that they're not talking about. Big surprise. So everyone in the news, right, the media in Massachusetts, like, oh my God, Governor Healy, she cares so much about the people. Look at what she did. She stepped in and put her fist down on gas prices and people trying to heat their homes. And it's been such a hard winter. And now for March and April, everyone's going to get a 5% discount. Okay, why don't you finish the story? Because the full story that people aren't talking about is, yeah, for March and April, these gas companies need to reduce their charges, right? Their rates by 5%. However, there's a stipulation in that order that she put out that said the gas companies are allowed to recoup that money with interest throughout the remainder of the year. So your gas bill in March and April gets cheaper so that the remainder of this year, it's going to go up because they're going to collect on that 10% basically plus interest. So, how's that for your stupid fucking governor?
And that one puzzled me, especially because he's he didn't do anything. He made bills more expensive
Yeah.
if you look at it on the year.
Yep.
So is that something you can opt out of?
I have no idea. I have oil, right? And I know we said this, so like I've never
Yeah, I
been
got
so
oil
glad
too.
to have oil to heat my house so I don't have to deal with it.
And that's the thing is I don't understand it. I don't get it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I don't either. It's
Why are they allowed to collect interest?
I have no idea. Like the whole thing.
Also, what's the interest rate? Do they just set it themselves?
Yeah, I don't know.
How's that
Is it the
calculated?
current like, prime rate plus whatever, 1.5? Right? So are these people going to get, 10% off their bill over the next 2 months, but then they have to pay that 10% back plus 10% interest, right? Or 8.5% interest over the rest of the year?
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. All she did was make the gas companies more money.
And she just made everything more complicated too.
Right. It's bananas. It really is. It, it is
Can
classic
the Supreme
politics,
Court rule
right?
against that? Can the Massachusetts Supreme Court like rule against that?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know if they would.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, the other thing is too, even though they're the Supreme Court of the state, it's still Massachusetts, right? It's not like, you know, the federal Supreme Court that's got like a split of, down the middle people, some conservative people, some left people, and also to like the federal Supreme Court, the people that are quote unquote, left leaning that are appointed by Democrats occasionally go to the right side, like the conservative side, and vice versa, right? The Republican appointed judges sometimes lean with the liberal side, right? Which is how things should be, right? Which always, I mean, I know we've talked about it all the time. Supreme Court is my favorite branch of the government, but that's how it should be, right? Like by saying you're a Democrat or a Republican shouldn't mean that you're 100% always in line with your party, right? Like
Not especially when you're judging if something's constitutional or not.
exactly, right? So I am completely fine with these judges, which technically by law, right, these judges aren't allowed to be politically affiliated anyway, right? But it's sort of known like if you're appointed by a Republican judge, it's typically someone who's a bit more conservative and then again more liberal if you're appointed by a Democratic president. Um, but still, I am 100% fine with that. Like I actually want that. Like I want the Supreme Court to not be ruled on party lines all the time. Like every time they come to a decision, like it shouldn't be always on party lines. Like that's not how this works. Um, and it isn't, right? And again, that's why the Supreme Court is the best, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I don't think the Massachusetts Supreme Court is probably the same, unfortunately.
I don't get it. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah. And then on top of that, everyone was circulating a video from I think maybe 2 or 3 months ago where Governor Healy was bragging about how she stopped a pipeline or two pipelines coming into Massachusetts. So everyone goes, why are you bragging about not allowing a pipeline into the state to lower gas prices and then going around telling people that you're going to save them money on gas, but effectively you're really not, right? Like you could have allowed the pipeline to come to this state and then everyone would have had actually cheaper gas prices instead of this bullshit that actually is going to cost them more money. So she sucks. She's a fucking terrible governor. I mean, I know we used
She's not up till next year.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I know we used to shit on Chucky Baker for sports betting stuff, but outside of the sports betting stuff, I think he was actually a pretty good governor.
Yeah, I mean the COVID stuff is what so yes, I wanted sports betting here. The COVID stuff is what made me hate him.
Yeah, oh, that's true. I forgot he was the governor for that stuff. Yeah,
Now it's like when you like look back on it, and yes, it was able like we were lucky that the gym was able to like stay, but like it was so fucking conservative. Like it was so conservative. Like what the fuck?
yeah.
And for what?
Which is funny because with the COVID stuff, I know it's semantics, right, and just terminology, but the liberal states were the ones with the more conservative policies. And the conservative states were like, yeah, fuck it, go do whatever you want. Right? It was Texas and Florida that were like, yeah, we don't have any mandates here. But it was
Yeah, but
Massachusetts, New York, and California with the most conservative, you
yeah,
know,
but doesn't that make sense? Because they want the like liberal states want the government to do everything for them.
yes, yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. It is just semantics, right? It is literally just words. Um, but I just thought it was funny, right? That's how things went. But see, I mean, when's the last time we had a good governor of Massachusetts? Bill Weld, right? Was it Bill Weld in the 90s?
I don't know, dude. I mean, this is the thing is
Because
all
Deval
these.
Patrick sucked, I think. Like, I think I was too young, certainly, to give a shit, but like, I heard a lot of people talk shit about Deval Patrick for a while. Mitt Romney fucked us by putting in Romney Care, forcing everyone to have health care, right? It was Obamacare before Obamacare. I know we've talked about that before on the show, right? When the rest of the country was adopting Obamacare, everyone in Massachusetts was like, yeah, nothing changes for us. We had fucking Romney care since Romney was the governor. Um, Charlie Baker, I guess looking back on it, kind of sucked too. Um, Healy definitely fucking blows. Maybe it was Bill Weld, like I said, back in the 90s.
I also don't know what a good governor does or doesn't do.
Yeah, I mean, probably shuts the fuck up and makes sure that the state doesn't do dumb shit.
So let's say we got legal under somebody.
Might have been
It might have been Baker.
That might have been Chucky Bright Lights.
Um, I think most of the gun laws are pretty good in
I
Massachusetts
mean,
for a guy that doesn't
gambling
have a gun.
gambling also did get legalized under Chucky Baker.
Yeah, it almost seemed like despite him, it did.
True, yeah, but it still happened under his
No, he was a
watch.
proponent. No, he was a proponent of it. He was.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't
Again,
know.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Like, what would the state government? The state government can only fuck me, in my opinion. Like, there's no way that they can help me,
Yeah,
right? Can they?
yeah. I mean, they're not really big enough, I suppose.
But they're powerful enough to put in restrictions that could fuck me.
Yeah,
Like when I was 26, and it's like, oh well, if you don't, if you don't get health insurance that you got to pay for out of pocket, we'll just fine you on your taxes like 6K. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, it's like totally awesome.
yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it means to have a good governor.
I know what a bad one is because we got one right now.
Yeah, we got one right now. So fuck her. Um, all right, I got one more thing before we wrap things up here. Netflix is at it again. They are attempting to buy NFL broadcasting rights from either or both, right? CBS and or Fox. Um, so I guess CBS is having a bit of a rough go right now, just internally, because they're again this legacy media thing isn't really working out too well for them. And they got crushed after the whole 60 Minutes thing came out. Did you hear about that? When Kamala Harris gave an interview on 60 Minutes, they edited it and doctored it to make her look like she was giving competent answers to these questions. But then someone released the full unedited version of the interview, and everyone was like, "Holy fucking shit, thank God we did not elect this buffoon." Like she couldn't complete anything. Like she had no fucking idea what she was saying. And they took answers from other questions and edited it to make it look like it was an answer to a different question that was it was nuts. Um, so CBS is having a bit of a rough go right now. Their ratings are in the shitter and things aren't looking good, right? Basically the only thing keeping some of these major networks alive is sports. Um, and now Netflix smells blood in the water, and they've approached CBS to purchase the rights to stream their NFL games, which I don't I mean I guess it would float CBS a little bit, right? Because they'd be getting that money from Netflix, but like no one's going to be watching CBS. So like you're literally just delaying the inevitable of the death of the network. Um, so yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting, right? That
Nothing. Why would CBS do that?
because if they go bankrupt, then they lose everything.
It might be better.
Yeah, maybe. But these people are egomaniacal fucking Hollywood people, right? Like they just want more money.
Wouldn't keeping the NFL get them more money?
Yeah, but I think they're just hemorrhaging in other areas so badly that even the NFL deal isn't enough to keep them afloat. But like if they sold the NFL deal, then they'd get even more money. You know what I mean? Like they'd get more money because Netflix is going to overpay, right? So
You
say,
understand how that makes no sense to me?
so just using even numbers here, say the CBS deal with the NFL is worth $100 billion, right? If Netflix comes to CBS and goes, we'll buy that for 200 billion, right? Then, okay, now CBS made money on that, right? So they don't have the
Where do
NFL.
you go with it? Like that's my thing is if you're hemorrhaging money elsewhere, the th the correct strategy is not to sell off the only thing you have.
Right. No, no, no. I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think these people think that way.
Someone has to. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that. Like someone has to think that way. They have to. It's very simple. If you have an asset and that is like the most valuable thing you have, and in my opinion, you have a substantial chance of dying if that goes away. Why would you get rid of it? You can't. What are they going to give up next? The tournament, March Madness, because they can earn some cash for it now.
Yeah.
They can't do that
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm mad.
unless it's like, hey, CBS keeps the cable broadcast and Netflix can stream and pays out the ass.
Right.
So there could be like some more nuance to it, like with blackout rules. Like that's what I mean. Is like it might just be like something like that, but that would yeah, it would be like if CBS goes, well, we're not making any money. Well, how can we make money? All right, well, let's sell off our rights to the Masters, let's sell off our rights to the NFL, and let's sell off our rights to March Madness. And they go, oh, okay, cool, yeah, we'll make like a ton of cash doing that. So how are we going to make more money? Like once we sell those things off, like what are we going to do with that cash? And it's like, oh, I don't know, we're losing money everywhere else. So why don't we sell off those things? Right, right, right. But how are we going to stop losing money on the other stuff? But we'll have more money from the other. It doesn't make like that's why it does not compute in my head.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying I agree with you.
And it's like, oh yeah, we'll give up getting the Super Bowl every 3 years because that doesn't that's not a good way to make money. I just don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
and especially with the NFL, like, how do you replace that?
Yeah, yeah, you can't.
Because you're not getting NBA.
No.
Golf's in the shitter. You have the Masters. You don't have to worry about
Right.
that.
Right. Who owns TNT? Is that Comcast?
Maybe.
I know there's only like six companies that own every channel on
There
TV.
used to be Turner, obviously.
Well, yeah.
And Comcast owns NBC, right?
Warner Brothers Discovery owns TNT. So, how many companies own all the cable networks? Six companies that own everything. Are you going to tell me what they are?
No.
Yeah, National Amusements is one of them. That is owned by Sumner Redstone. So that's CBS, Viacom, MTV, all those, Nickelodeon, Showtime. That's all National Amusements. Then you have Disney, which obviously is ABC, ESPN,
ESPN.
Marvel, Vice, SEC Network, ABC Family, A&E, all those. Um, then you have Time Warner, which is Cartoon Network, HBO, Warner Brothers, Discovery, all that. Then you have Comcast, which is NBC, Bravo, Telemundo, all the Comcast regional sports networks, MLB Network, NHL Network. Um, then you have News Corp, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch. So that's Fox. That's all that stuff. Fox 25, Big Ten Network, Fox Sports. Then you have Sony, which is Crackle. Sony is funny. There's nothing really big there. Triumph, Crackle, Stars, Sony Pictures, right? That's like movies. That's a big one. So yeah, those are the big six that own
I mean,
everything.
I honestly think the only way the deal works is if CBS retains the rights to the NFL deal, still gets to stream, one big game a week, whatever. And then I don't know, just charges Netflix some crazy number.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely odd. Well, then the other end of that too is Netflix going to be able to fucking deliver a good product?
It won't matter because it's the NFL.
No, I
Doesn't have to
mean,
be
no, no,
good.
no. I mean, like physically, like, are they going to be able to stream it? Because they've had so many issues with every single live event that they've tried. Like, people flip out. It's all over Twitter and Instagram about like the screens buffering and there's delays on everything and everything pauses and skips. Like they don't have the physical infrastructure, right, for the product. I don't mean like who the announcers are and like what the screen looks like. I mean, like, is it going to fucking work? Right? When you click on the NFL to watch it, are you going to be able to actually watch it?
If it's the NFL, it might not matter.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you do?
People are gonna get pretty pissed if they turn
Yeah.
on Netflix to
And
watch
what do
the
they do?
NFL and they can't watch the NFL.
And what can someone do about that? Nothing.
Yeah,
You cannot watch. That's your choice.
yeah. You can bitch about it on Twitter. Or like that was the issue with the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. So many people couldn't watch it because they just got like the buffering wheel on their screen.
Oh no, I remember. It's like it was a
Yeah,
mess. But
yeah,
that's my thing is if they get the NFL deal, that's if the product sucks, what is someone gonna do?
yeah. If the only way to watch the 4:30 on Sunday game, right, is on Netflix, you have to have fucking Netflix. Right? Like if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, right? Like at that point, you're relying on the NFL to step in and yank the broadcasting rights, right? But
Right.
like, I don't know, that's it's kind of a lot.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I don't either.
Definitely interesting though to pay attention to. But on that note, you want to wrap this up?
We can wrap this up. So Michaela and I watched Miracle the other night,
Nice.
and at some point, I don't know, I was probably on the Wikipedia page because at some point I saw box office. So Miracle came out in 2004. I don't know what weekend, but it ranked second on its opening weekend.
Okay.
And I mean, you knew Miracle, right? 2004. There was
Yeah.
Disney put it out there, like fairly popular movie, whatever.
Yeah. It was huge.
Figure second's pretty good for an opening weekend because maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a guess to the number one movie that weekend in 2004?
In 2004, you said you don't know when it came out, like
I
what
don't know
time of
what
year.
month, so no. I mean, it's a futile attempt anyway. But
2004. Was it another Disney movie?
it was not.
Okay. Because I was going to say like Toy Story 3, right? Like,
I think that came out a little bit later than 2004, but yes.
um, yeah, I have no idea. I'm drawing a
That's
blank
good
on
because you
that
were never
one.
going to get it anyway, because the answer is Barbershop 2, back in business.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
So, oh, Miracle, second to that, huh?
Yeah.
You'd think it's probably a pretty fair fight. Miracle grossed $19 million dollars in the opening weekend. Barbershop 2 grossed 64 and a half.
Wow.
Triple.
Wow.
So I got a kick out of that.
Yeah. I feel like Miracle might have been one of those movies where it became more popular the longer it was out.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like a niche thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's about a true story, but it's not the true story.
Right.
And it came out in 2004. A lot of people were either way too young to really know about it or they lived it.
Right.
So it's actually like a little bit of an odd thing.
Right.
Plus, it was put on by Disney, so I mean, I can see why people didn't necessarily like it. Um, I also maybe just thought it was a bigger movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a huge hockey guy, so it's like I knew it and all that, but
Right. Right. 20 million
didn't
opening
even do
weekend.
a third of Barbershop 2.
Do you know what the budget was on it?
No, I could fact check it, but I just don't think it's that important.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, shout out to Miracle. It's a great movie. All right. So my final thought is Actually, something I think is fucking incredible. So airlines, right, are now considering weight-based fees to charge people in order to better save on fuel and help the environment. So I love everything about this because this is the chaos run rampant, right? So you have all of these insane liberal people, right? These blue-haired, green-haired fucking psychos that are like, save the environment, man. Like, planes are so bad, man. Okay, all right. You 275-pound fucking Gorlock the Destroyer woman with your pink hair, step on a scale before you get on a plane. Well, no, that's discrimination. No, it's not. It's better for the environment, right? If we uh if we have more weight on the plane, we need to expend more fuel, which is bad for the environment, right? We want to save the environment. Isn't that what you're saying? Step on the fucking scale, fatty, right? That's going to be an extra $65 because you couldn't keep the fucking cheeseburgers out of your mouth and you want to fly in this plane. I love it. I love everything about it, right? Partially because, like, again, I'm certainly not fit, right? I'm not as fit as I was in my youth, um, but I'm not morbidly obese, right? So if you're going to sit there and you're going to pound the table about the environment and how flying planes is so bad for the environment, okay. Well, again, the heavier the weight of the plane, the more fuel we need to expend. So if you are 350 pounds, you are exerting a lot more weight on this plane than the person that's 185 pounds, right? Or even 200 pounds. So you got to pay a surcharge, fatty.
Imagine people cutting weight before their flight. Or like
So,
even if like so if you really wanted chaos and then Bill would have a conniption because then there would be fitness programs designed to benefit from this exact thing.
yeah, yep,
Uh if you
without a
really want
doubt.
to have a conniption, so say you took like average I hate BMI, let's just use BMI.
Right.
I think BMI is a shitty fucking thing. And it was like, as long as you're within whatever percents of your BMI, like you're cool, like it's fine.
Yeah,
Heavier, there are fees. Lighter, you save money. That would be epic.
yeah, it
You want to
would.
get the nation, you want to get the nation healthier? Institute that.
Yeah, yeah, that would certainly help a lot of people. It wouldn't help everyone. There'd still be people that would be like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah, no.
But
Is there
that would
anything
definitely
that
help.
everyone likes?
No, 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 no.
You want to
But it
make
would help.
America healthy again? Give a tax rebate for beating your BMI or beating a certain percent of your BMI.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess there's a couple Scandinavian airlines that have already implemented something like
That's
this,
awesome. That's
where
so good.
where it's voluntary, right? You're allowed to volunteer to get yourself weighed, and I think it's something along those lines. Like if you are lighter than average, you might save money, but it's all again, it's all voluntary. So you don't have to step on the scale, but there are some Scandinavian airlines that have scales, by the boarding door. You can hop on. So
I like
again,
that.
I love this. I love this idea, right? Like this is eating like the what is the saying? Like the snake eating its own tail, right? Something like that, where it just goes in the
That's a
circle.
thing. Is
Yeah,
that a saying?
something along those lines. Um,
Is this a real saying or did you make it up?
no, no, no. I'm not intelligent enough to make something like that up. Um,
Doesn't sound like that smooth.
But like this is one of those things, right? Where you have your stereotypical like lefty, right? Again, the blue hair, the green hair, the very overweight, the, whatever. Okay, you want to get on the plane? Step on the scale, fatty. You're officially the fattest kid at camp. That'll be an extra 75 bucks, please. Oh,
Is
you
it
can't
Ben
do
Stiller
that.
in
Yeah.
heavyweights?
Yeah.
Step on the scale. Get off the scale.
And they can just hide behind the fact that it's all about saving the environment, which again, I thought you wanted to save the environment, right?
Oh, just to put a bow on that. My only thing is as it stands right. So I like the chaos because ideologically it puts people into a pretzel. And I
Yeah.
do like when that happens, especially
Again,
like if you have extreme views and then you get put in a pretzel, I enjoy that.
yeah, me too.
But my only thing is if the airlines are taking these flights now, regardless. So by charging these people more, they're only going to benefit, they're only going to profit more and earn more because they have
Sure.
to like they take the flights no matter what.
Sure.
So, and I know that they're not going to lower tickets like across the board based on knowing that like well we're going to get more if no,
Right.
they're just going to end up profiting more. So it's like for as inefficient as the airlines are, them getting richer doesn't really make me overly excited, but the mental gymnastics kind of do.
Yeah. I would wholeheartedly agree with both of those statements. So that's gonna do it for us. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe up above, hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is Sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. Check out the show notes. Support the sponsors. Support us. And until next time, good night, everybody.